Dead was an interesting experience. The visuals popped, the characters were written or delivered in such a way that it made you care, and it was made by Zack Snyder right on the tail end of the release of his director's cut of Justice League. A seemingly blatant hybridization of Dawn of the Dead and I Am Legend, the story is a run-of-the-mill shoot-'em-up zombie flick that's a bit more generic than some of the big-name titles. Over the years, movie makers have learned that unless you make the zombies very interesting or present something new about them, it's not enough to have them on screen most of the time, so you engender human interactions, relationships, and character building. There's really no character building or backstory of the characters per se in Army of the Dead, even though they try to cleverly place that in the intro or opening credits of the movie. And just like the classic Doomsday movie Armageddon, you kind of get to know the characters as you go along, as they are already in the thick of things. You have the same tired trope of people doing stupid things or being over the top with how moronic they are. It's not like there's anything revolutionary about this particular zombie movie, with the exception of Dave Bautista being the lead role and us getting to see a scene of a zombie alpha tiger mauling someone. The makers of this movie obviously watched The Revenant, because I feel like I was watching the same thing, this time in the light of day, and it being done by a zombie white tiger named Valentine, as well as the victim, and not really making it out alive. The fact that they embraced the whole cat trope of it playing with its food before killing it was really messed up. The next wonderful thing about this movie, which is not exactly a novelty since we saw this in the alternate ending of I Am Legend, are the alpha zombie creatures expressing romance and compassion. Here's a scene from I Am Legend of the alpha, well, not zombie in this case, but alpha vampire, or whatever these things are. And here's a scene from Army of the Dead. So it wasn't new to me. The character I felt most for was the male alpha original zombie. It's clear at the beginning of the movie this creature was probably initially a soldier, and they did a good job setting up the intro of the movie, because you could tell that the government official or rep on the other end of the phone was totally serious with what the payload was and how urgent it was that they leave the area, even though that made no sense because they could have easily had been instructed to put a bullet in its head instead of letting that thing run free and infect people anyway.
Looks like it's busted open in the middle of the highway.
Stand by, horsemen. All right, listen carefully. Gather whoever can walk or move and get away from the payload immediately.
Wait, what are you telling me to do?
Shut the fuck up and listen to me. Get your men out of there, horsemen. If they
And you get the irony, horsemen of the apocalypse, because these guys brought on the apocalypse. Laying it on a bit thick with this movie, I gotta tell you. This is probably an alternate universe where the super soldier serum turns Captain America into Hulk Dracula instead, except that, you know, that they're able to breed. Yeah, I don't even get the mechanics for that. From what they explained in the movie, the super soldier bites regular people, and like being touched by a Nightwalker, they turn into conscious beings, like the Alpha, but not quite. You see, like the Alpha, they have the ability of infecting other human beings to die and become like them. But if you're bitten by an Alpha or his lackeys, you do die first before you're resurrected as one of these things. But when the betas bite others, what you essentially get is a traditional mindless zombie which operates more like robotic goons than intelligent beings. To become a general or an Alpha, the Alpha super soldier has to bite you directly. It's so sad that when the Alpha found the last remaining parts of his wife, or her head, and he was so close to saying goodbye to her, unfortunately, he couldn't save her enough and the girl dropped it, and there goes his wife, Splatoon, on the floor. The brain is completely destroyed, because if it's not, whatever infected them stays alive, or at least the head stays alive after it's separated from the body. And yeah, we don't ever see what happens to the girl in the end who got harpooned. I mean, there's some implication that he might have bitten her so she becomes the next alpha female, but yeah, we don't know. Yeah, the movie was, interesting. It was a nice experience. I can't say it's the best zombie movie I have seen. Anything post-apocalyptic that's zombie-wise, I would say that 28 Days Later and I Am Legend has the top spot lot for me. There were a lot of stupid things about this movie that just got on my freaking nerves. And maybe someday I'll go over it because it's essentially a dumb movie Monday kind of deal. That being said, it was still fun, but it's by no stretch a great movie. It had some of its funny moments with some cheap humor that was thrown in that was essentially low-hanging fruit, but do I regret watching this? Of course not. Am I super psyched that I watched it? Not really. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.